Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Two Girls, One Doc.
One Doc.
It's your girl, BD.
It's Foreign's the fiance.
And we are back.
With the credits.
I don't think I said this in our last credits, but credits are our like mini episodes where we basically talk about whatever we want. We don't cover a documentary per se or like in the way that we normally do in the episodes, but we just talk about whatever we want. And today what we want to talk about is the Hart family murders.
So this case is intense.
Very.
It's called Hart family murders, but it's actually in fact a murder-suicide.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you've heard about this. Actually, you might not have heard about it, but you would have heard about the meme that links to this case.
Oh yeah, the little boy.
Yeah, the little boy.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
Even back then, when I saw that meme, I was like, okay.
Yeah, right. I mean, but it's just crazy that like there is that picture lives forever kind of thing.
Yeah, it's sad.
We'll post it. We'll post it on. Like, it should be on there now. If you look at it, would it be on there before they? You can put it on there, and then by the time they.
I don't know if I'm going to post that the first day. So it'll be on there.
Well,
it'll be on there.
It might be on there now. Have a look while you're there.
Like,
give us a follow.
It'll be on
Two
there,
Girls, One Doc Insta.
Yeah. So this murder-suicide took place on March 26th, 2018. And it happened in California. So some context about the family. It's Jennifer Hart and her wife, Sarah Hart. And they had 6 adopted children. So the children are Abigail, Hannah Jean, Marquise, and they were adopted by the Harts from Texas. And then they adopted 3 additional children, Sierra, Devontae Jordan, and Jeremiah Hart. And these 3 children who were adopted later on, so Devontae, Jeremiah, and Sierra, they are biological siblings, so they have the same mother, and I'm not sure about father, but I know they have the same mother. Mm-hmm. So their mother, Sherry, lost custody due to substance issues, and I think this is really relevant to talk about because I remember when I was like researching, and even before we decided to talk about this for credits, I remember reading this and it was extremely heartbreaking. So Sherry lost custody because she had substance abuse issues. Great. So the children were given to their paternal aunt, so I'm guessing Sherry's sister.
Yeah.
So Priscilla was raising these kids as her own, and she had plans of like adopting them, but one of the conditions was they were not meant to have contact with Sherry,
with their mum.
Yeah. So basically, the caseworker finds out that Priscilla had been allowing Sherry to come and see the kids and sometimes babysit them. These kids are then removed from care and removed from Priscilla's care and then put into care.
It's so sad as well because the one time where like the caseworker saw it happen, because the article I read was like she saw it. Yeah, I think Priscilla had to go to work, like she had to pick up a shift or something, and there was no one to babysit them except their mum, and so she was like, oh fuck it, like let me just let her babysit them. And the caseworker saw it, and then that was like the final straw that is what led to them in this situation. And it's just, you know, when people talk about like society and social change is what needs to be done in order for all these other things to not happen, it literally is that, like that is the answer.
So these kids were put in care, and then they were later adopted by Sarah and Jennifer. Yeah. And they actually had an older brother, Dante, but he was not adopted by the Harts because he had some behavioural issues. So they had these 6 kids. Now, if you haven't heard of the case and you haven't seen any pictures or whatever, let's get into this.
Let's get into it.
Sarah and Jessica, I don't know why I keep saying Jennifer. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying
Jennifer,
Jessica. Yeah. Sarah and Jennifer are 2 white women. Okay. They then adopt 6 black children. So 3 of the children are biracial. I think they appear to be biracial, but I'm not sure because sometimes Americans can be black but just look biracial.
Yeah.
So 3 of the children appear biracial, light skin, whatever, and then the other 3 who are
the siblings.
Sorry, yeah, the 3 who are siblings are black. Like they appear to be full black, and these are 2 white women. Now, I'm all for like if a child needs a home, let them kind of go where they're going to be loved and cared for. Like we have these conversations at home about like gay families adopting and how important it is that that it's not about having a mother and a father. It's about a child being in a loving home, who they're going to take, who's going to take care of them, all of that kind of stuff. And I feel the same way about adoption. I do think that it's important that like if a kid is black or Asian, that whoever is adopting them, if they're not part of that culture, exposes them to their culture. I don't think it's right for you to adopt an Asian baby as a white family or a black baby as a white family, and you don't allow for there to be integration into black culture. You don't encourage stuff like that. It's not right.
So I remember this scene from This Is Us with like Randall, and there's when they're children they go to like this like pool, or the parents take them to the pool, and he kind of gravitates towards this like black family and stuff, and the mum at first kind of feels away, but then it's like she learns where he can go to get his hair cut and stuff like that. So there needs to be that influence. It's not so much like, oh, you're black, like these are the things that black people do. Like I think it's important for them to be integrated into, you know, black culture and things that black people do, and like have black role models as well, and that doesn't devalue your position as their adoptive parent or just their parent, to be honest, but it's important. Do you know what I mean? Like, because Randall, I mean, I know he's a character and everything, but I feel like a lot of Randall's fucked upness and like just weirdness is to do with that. And I think Beth, him marrying Beth was the best thing that ever happened to him, because that really brought him into like a safe space, and exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And because like even didn't they used to call them like the triplets?
Yeah.
And I think even that was problematic, because
that's the whole I don't see color thing. Like it's very like, you please see color and act accordingly, right? No one is saying that you shouldn't see color. It's just, it annoys me so much when people say that, because I am black. Are you telling me you don't see that? We mentioned this, we spoke about this in our other episode, Little White Lie. Like that was a really good episode, so you should listen to that. But yeah, honestly, like that is so important. Like you're meant to see color. Like of course I'm different. Of course Randall's different. Like it's so obvious, and you're trying to make it like it's not, like the elephant in the room.
Yeah, if you don't see my color, you don't see the issues I face. You don't know my challenges. You don't acknowledge them. So it's actually,
and if you don't see your color, you don't see your privilege. You don't see, you know what I mean? So it's like, mate, like everybody should see color and move accordingly.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm all for adoption. And I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the Jolie Pitt family, but I think Angelina Jolie's done a good job of raising kids that are not the same race as her. So I know that like her daughter who's black, she's taking her to historically black, you know, HBCUs. I don't know how they what the acronym is.
Historically black.
I think it's historically
HBCU.
Yeah, HBCUs. Yeah. Like Howard and things like that, which is really, really important. Like those things, especially in America, they matter. Like going to like Yale or Princeton is all great and stuff like that, but like, bro, like what effect does that have on the child? So I think that's something she does. And I know she takes back, I think her two of her kids are from, is it Thailand or something? I can't remember, but she takes them to like Thailand and things like that. So I think I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know what like day-to-day living is like for them. I don't got that kind of money, but I think she does a good job. So, but then again, I think it's also crazy that these people like actively sort out black kids, and six of them.
That's what's weird. I hear you. Like the three of them were siblings, so okay, maybe you didn't want to separate them. You wanted them to be with their siblings, so now you have another three. But it's just first of all, it's so many kids, black or not. Yeah, it's so many children, and I thought it's really hard to adopt. Like I thought, like it's really difficult to adopt. Like how do you justify like having the space and the time and the resources for 6 children?
Adoption is not Adoption is not that difficult if one, you want a black kid, because they're not the most sought after.
Yeah, I mean, I get being able to, I guess, have access to them, but the process in terms of like the checks and everything, like, do they not think, okay, cool, you've got three more? Like, is that not going to be a lot? Like, is that not?
I guess they do some checks, but also it's easier if you've already adopted. So I don't know if they do like they must do a financial means test, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how,
because to have 6 kids like biologically is like long, but then maybe like you're against contraception, or you just got pregnant again, or you had triplets and triplets again, cool, but like you've chosen to have 6 children. That I really want
to sit down with people that have more than 2 kids, starting with my own family,
and just say what was the reason.
Yeah, what was the reason? What was the rationale? Because I just cannot wrap my head around the concept of having 2 kids. Like, if like, if I hadn't experienced being a lonely child, I'd probably have one. But I know that it can be lonely. So I'm like, okay, I'll get you a playmate. And that's it. That's all you're getting from me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why people have, but anyways, yeah, cool. So they adopt these 6 black kids. Cool. So prior to adopting their children, these 2 had actually fostered a 15-year-old girl, and she was also black. And a week before the first 3 kids they had adopted were due to arrive, the Harts dropped this girl off at her at the location where she has like therapy, and like she's having her therapy session, and the therapist is basically like, yeah, like they're not coming back to get you.
Wild.
Do you know
that feeling of neglect is not going away.
It's not
without
going away.
serious therapy. Yeah.
And I think that's why it links into like, oh, they didn't adopt Dante, because like a lot of people want to adopt kids all together, right? Because they want to keep them together. Like you tend to find that people don't like to separate the children, like even the
which I appreciate. Like if that were my situation, I would want to be with my sister.
Exactly. So you can see that I feel like, because I think I remember reading an article where it was like the girl had some behavior issues herself. Like she wasn't like she had like a difficult background, right? And I feel like that's why they kind of abandoned her, because they were like, yeah, you don't fit into, you don't conform to what we want. It's same with Dante, so we're not gonna like bring you into family.
And that's ridiculous, because like when you have your when you adopt a child, like I believe that that's your child. Of course you've adopted them, fine, you didn't have them biologically, but you're their parent, you're still their parent. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, say you were to have a kid biologically and that kid was troublesome or had behavioral issues, you don't just be like, oh, fuck you, kid, off you go, off to the therapist, and we don't pick you up again. Like, you don't do that. You try and find help for them. So if you, I mean, and I guess in this situation they were fostering the kid, but it just kind of seems convenient that now you've been promised your own 3 kids from adoption, you just kind of be like, okay, well, fuck her then, and then you no longer want to, and didn't even tell her, didn't even have a conversation with her, didn't even sit her down and say, you know, there's going to be a change, this is what we're going to do. None of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, you just literally dump her. The abandonment issues for someone who probably already has them because she's in the system, like it's wild.
Exactly. You just compounded those issues. You've made it worse.
So also, like, we learned that, like, I was gonna say from this documentary, but no. Just in my research, I also learned that things were not all hunky dory in the Hart family. So basically, their neighbors, a lady called Dana and her husband Bruce, say there were a lot of red flags in that family, and they raised these issues with like CPS and stuff like that. So one of the daughters, Hannah, leaps from a 2nd-story window in her house, and she races over to them, and she's like begging for help. Apparently there were some instances of like racial abuse, which again, like, what the fuck, physical abuse, and they had been food was withheld from the kids as a form of punishment.
This was in the, I mentioned in the last episode, that Atlanta episode. So in the Atlanta episode, it kind of centers around one little boy, and like he's at school one time, misbehaving. His mum comes to pick him up with the granddad, and the granddad like slaps him, like just kind of like on the cheek, like basically like, oh, don't be dumb kind of thing. The teacher sees it, she thinks she's doing good, she reports it. The son gets taken away. And is now under the care of these 2 white lesbians. So kind of similar story here. And one of the things is that like the food is just shit. So when he gets to the house, there's already a couple kids there. I think there's maybe like 3-4 of them, and the food is just shit. Like he just looks at it and he's like, I can't eat this. Like the chicken is like, I don't even want to be stereotypical and say unseasoned. It's like uncooked almost. Like it's not cooked very well. Like it's cold. Like they can only have only a little bit, and that's similar to the actual story, like what you're saying.
But in that Atlanta episode, what happened?
What do you mean?
Like,
in the end, we'll get to the story. I'll do it parallel, so that, because if I say what happens, it's gonna give away what you're about to say.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So like when these kids kind of like the red flags and everything are raised, Hannah begs them to take her to Seattle, because they weren't being treated right. You know, a lot of times the kids would be like, don't make me go back. So they call CPS and they're like, bro, like something is going on in this this house. Kind of house. So a caseworker comes and she drops her card through the letterbox because they're not home, and then the next day she comes back again because she hasn't heard anything from them, and the family's like packed out and moved. So they were in Washington at this time. They moved to like California overnight. They drove.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just backstory of kind of what the family was like. They were very present on social media. They would post up pictures in matching outfits. They went to like a Bernie Sanders like rally.
It just seems very like, oh, I'm parading my black kids. Look how great I am. Like, I'm a lesbian. I faced oppression, and I'm helping these black kids, and I'm gonna
vote like, Bernie Sanders and all of this.
Yeah, it's just so. It just seems so performative. That's the word I'm trying to think of. It just seems so performative. Like, and no one is saying that you cannot, try and do good and like adopt black kids. I'm not saying that, but it's just like, are you doing it for the claps? Like, I don't understand. Like, are you doing it for what are you doing it for?
So they were always posting things on Facebook, smiling. They traveled across the country to music festivals. They took hikes. On paper they were like, I don't want to say the dream, whatever, but on paper they came across... They
were living a life la vida.
Living the life la vida. So Devontae was captured. So he's the boy that, in case you guys are like, what the fuck am I talking about? He's the boy who, he's in a picture, he's wearing a fedora, and that was a red flag.
Yeah, the fedora. Yeah, but I mean, the fedora explained. Look at his parents, it explains.
Yeah, but
that was not his hat.
I think we should have been alert at the point where we're seeing a kid in a fedora. But he was wearing a fedora and like some leather jacket, and he's like bawling. He's bawling, and then he's hugging this police officer. And this comes the day after the jury had decided not to charge Darren Wilson in the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson. So emotions were like running high.
Yeah.
Black people were really upset. They were sad. They were protesting. And then there's this picture of like this black boy hugging a white police officer, and then it becomes like the poster of like,
they politicized it and made it like, see, we should forgive, we should all be in harmony and blah blah blah.
And I think that should have been a red flag as well, because it's like, if you're really down for the cause and stuff like that, you wouldn't allow a picture like that of your kid to be a political statement, especially when like, no, I mean,
I don't think that they have a choice. I think once the picture happens, the media will run with it. What can you really do about it?
But why did you
think
that
they liked it because I think they capitalized off it and they made it this is our whatever. Maybe he was running because he really wanted to escape, and he was crying, and he said, "This white woman doesn't feed me, and I'm here. Please, like, help me." Maybe he was a cry for help.
Maybe it was. So okay, basically now we get into what happened on the day. So obviously,
trigger warning.
Trigger warning. Literally for everything. Obviously all people are deceased, so we don't have an accurate account. We can only go based off of like what the police found at the scene and things like that. But they're driving, and basically their car drives over a cliff, and all 6 of the kids are in the car, as are the wives. So Jennifer was driving, and from the toxicology reports, she had like an elevated blood alcohol level, and I think they said she'd had like 6 bottles of beer, and they believe she had this much to prepare her, like to give her the liquid courage
to go through
to
with
do
it.
this and calm her nerves, I guess, and she had, with the amount of alcohol she had in her system, she would not have been able to control the car. Whilst she was driving, Sarah was busy searching, how easily can I overdose on over-the-counter medication? Can 500 milligrams of Benadryl kill a 125-pound woman? How long does it take to die from hypothermia whilst drowning in a car? And one of her searches was for a no-kill dog shelter. And I don't know why she was searching for that, because like, if you're in the car and the dog isn't there, like, it's not like you can put him in a shelter.
No, because I think what happened was that they left the dogs at home. And this is, again, like, how can you value you value the life of an animal more than six black children. Anyway, that's its own thing. I think it was a thing where it was like they left the dog at home, and that they wanted to make sure that, say the dog was found, that it wouldn't be put in a kill shelter, that it would be safe or whatever.
So is that why she searched on her phone, so people knew her intentions, or what?
I don't know. I'm not trying to get into the mind of this crazy person, so I don't know.
So they drive off this cliff, and like underneath the like cliff or whatever, it's like the edge. You know when you're driving, like,
yeah, there's like barriers and stuff.
Yeah, they drive past it, and then on the other side there's water, which is why I guess she was she googled the hypothermia thing, because she wanted to know like what would happen after that. So when the authorities come, The scene is in disarray. They think they've had a car crash, but obviously upon investigation they find out that it was a murder-suicide.
Yeah, like they realised there were no brake marks, and obviously if you had crashed and you were trying to stop from crashing, there would be like screeching or like that the brake marks to show that you were trying to stop, and there was none of that.
Yeah. So Jennifer, Sarah and 3 of their children, Marquise, Jeremiah and Abigail, were found in the car. Sierra's remains were found later, so I'm guessing the impact is kind of similar to like the Kobe helicopter crash, like think like people were projected out of the whatever. So Sierra's remains were found later. This is so heartbreaking, guys, and major trigger warning. Hannah, who at the time of her death would have been 16, so like just a young baby girl, all that was found of her was a foot, so washed up on shore. It was still in the shoe, and it was skeletal remains. They never found the rest of her body. Devontae is his remains have still yet to be found, but he's been declared legally dead. So somewhere this poor boy is not even laying
in rest. Do you know, part of me is like, oh, maybe he escaped somehow, and like
I thought that as well.
Because in the Atlanta episode, so there's the main guy that we follow. So there are a bunch of kids as well, and there's a main guy that we follow who was taken from his mum, which, like, reading the real story, I think maybe represents Devontae. Maybe not. Maybe I'm doing the most, you know. But so they stop before they're about to do the crash thing, and then I think it's not clear / I don't really remember, but he's able to get out of the car, but I think that he also tries to help the other kids get out as well, so that when they crash, it's like when they're driving, he opens the door and kind of like rolls out. And then there's like a little mini scene of the other kids in like a blanket somewhere. So I think I don't remember, guys, watch the episode. But yeah, he escapes, he gets out. So they drive the car and die, and he is able to like come out of the car and like roll out of the car, and it's just knowing that Devontae wasn't found, it just makes me think, oh my gosh, like maybe he's okay, but then also he's not okay, because if he were okay, then we would know about it. Then we would know about it.
Even if he survived the crash, he would have died from his wounds by now, because he wouldn't have had any medical treatment. He would have been,
so
unless he got help, but like because he didn't remember who he was, but like his pictures everywhere, no, like he's gone. So yeah, like the family unfortunately passes away. Do you know what? So I put this down because one friend of the family says about Sarah and Jennifer, were they perfect? No. Do we all know their whole story? No. None of us do, and we never will. And I believe that person said that because it was a bunch of black kids that died. Like, what the fuck do you mean, were they perfect? No, we'll never know the story. I don't give a fuck. Nobody asked them to be perfect. The barest minimum is don't kill your children. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, were they perfect? Because if this was a bunch of white kids that were killed, you wouldn't be having all these debates. You'd be calling them monsters. You'd be like, how can you do this? You're still showing sympathy. And I believe that sympathy comes from a place of, oh, well, it's just black lives that were lost. Like, does it really matter? Like, what do you mean? Nobody, who came and said, oh, they have to be perfect? Nobody is perfect. This is what I'm saying.
It's like, you don't have to be perfect. You have to just not be a murderer. Like, I don't understand. You have to just not be an abuser. Minimum. Like, that's it. Like, that's all we're asking. Minimum. And the thing is that, like, you sort out these children. The process of adoption, and I have not been through it before, but everything I hear, even fostering, is so extensive. They literally nitpick your whole life to see, can you have this kid? They don't just say, oh, here, 2 for 1, 3 for 1, here, take. No, you actively went out. You didn't just get pregnant and thought, fuck it, let me have a kid. You actively, like, arguably, like, you might be able to say that like adoptive children are literally chosen. Like I wanted you. I went through all of this to have you. Like I didn't just, I got pregnant, oh fuck it, now I have a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like these people went out of their way to have you in their lives. And what did they do with that? And then what did they do with that? Like, it's just literally, so ridiculous. Just so literally, weird. They were all so young when they died. Like, Sierra was 12, Abigail was 14, Jeremiah was also 14, Devontae was 15, and Hannah was 16, and Marquise was 19. Like, they were all so young. They were all so young. Like, and it's like, if you decided you didn't want to be here anymore and you wanted to die, then okay, you and your wife, if you like. Yeah, if you like, go drive off the cliff, fine. Do you know what I mean? RIP and that, yeah. Why would you have to take do that. If you didn't want them, the same way you dropped off my girl when she was 15 at therapy, you could have done the same thing. Like they didn't have to die. Like they didn't have to die.
That literally, it just sucks. And I'm sure.
But the dogs, the dogs are okay. The dogs should live. So you can appreciate you appreciate life. Then you appreciate life.
When that girl got dropped off, she was thinking to herself, like, she was probably sad and devastated, but she dodged a massive bullet, obviously. And these poor, like, innocent kids. Like, when I think of the last three who their family set up, they actually, because there's a picture of their mum and their aunt at their funeral, and they're like heartbroken.
And then you look at again what I was saying about like social whatever it is, yeah. Like if you try and get the mum help for substance abuse, if you do supervised visits, if you do those kind of things, and it's like the aim is to get you back to a place where you can be with your mum again, not just penalizing her because she has a substance abuse problem. Like it's an illness. We did an episode, I don't remember which episode it was, where we were talking about how like, you know, like it's so easy when people are on drugs to kind of demonize them and make them like, oh, I think it was the Louis Theroux one, and make them like, oh, or the Stacey Dooley one, anyway, make them like, oh, you know, they're criminals because they are addicted to drugs and stuff. Like,
yeah,
just try and help them. Like, are you telling me that they're better off with these two women that killed them than with someone who was on drugs, who literally had been like, she had access to her children? Okay, she wasn't supposed to, but she had access to her children by way of Priscilla, and nothing had happened to them. They were fine. They were safe. You take them out of that situation to try and put them in a safer situation, and now they're dead. So
what was it all
for?
Even before this murder suicide, other than like the abuse of like food and stuff like that, we just learned that I keep thinking we're doing a documentary, but I learned that basically like even the way they were raising them, like they were hyper disciplined, like they had to ask to use the toilet, they had to walk in a straight line everywhere they went. And thinking about somebody like Marquise, he is 19.
Mate.
Like that is not healthy for somebody of that age who should be at college or uni or whatever. Like being, do you know what I mean?
Working, doing an apprenticeship, like having his own life, like autonomy of his life, his time and everything like that.
Literally, they had to ask to use the toilet, ask when to eat, ask when to do this, ask when to do that, walk in a single file. Like people who observed them said that, like in pictures they would be all cute, then immediately after they were like robots. Yeah. Like there was something really off about the family. It's so sad. It's so sad.
This just never had to happen, any of this, and it's just really sad that it did.
Yeah, indeed. But guys, really definitely go and research. There isn't a documentary per se, but I've seen a few. There is
a documentary on it.
Really?
Yeah, it's called
Is it Threat.
Threats to hold on, let me find it. It's called A Thread of Deceit: The Hart Family Tragedy. It came out in 2020. That was
a movie.
Oh, it's a movie. Oh, maybe it is a movie actually.
Yeah, that's why.
Oh, I think it is a movie. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right. It is a movie. Yeah.
But there are loads of like YouTube like sleuth videos, and they've done a lot of their research as well, so they'll have some information there that maybe we didn't cover. But it's a very heartbreaking case, and
it really is, and
it's just even more heartbreaking because like some of these kids are not laid to rest. Hannah isn't laid to rest. Devontae isn't laid to rest. Like I know that when you die, you die, but like it's just that you're just out there. Nobody knows where you are. Like it's sad.
So sad. My goodness. Yeah, guys, that was a proper downer. But the Atlanta episode was I mean that too was a downer, but at least like the guy survived in the end. So but yeah, next we are doing a BBC documentary called Scam Stories: The Money Drop.
Crazy.
I've watched it and it's ridiculous, but it's gonna make for a good episode.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's very ridiculous.
But then also they're very young, so fine, it makes sense. But yeah, I'm gonna leave the trailer after this, and then we will see you next week. In the meantime, where can they find us?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, 2girls1doc, email 2girls1doc@gmail.com. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yes, guys, just a reminder that our episodes will come out every other week, so it won't be next week, it will be the week after, I believe. But just keep up with us on Instagram, Twitter. We'll be posting a lot on there as well, so you know when an episode's coming out, and also referencing all the stuff that we've basically spoken about in the episodes. So
all right then, guys, bye.
All right, guys, bye.
I think I must have lost at least 15 grand.
I'd never heard about squares. I never heard about money muling. Like, if you ever said that to me, I'd be like, bruh, what is this?
He was definitely manipulating me and brainwashing me a little bit. I was so naive at the time.
These fraud boys know that you're young. They know that you don't understand your finance. That's why they're coming for you.